It's an extraordinary pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be back in Africa. It's a pleasure to be back in South Africa. There's so much energy and so much good feeling. And in fact, it's caused a crystallization of some ideas that have been floating around in my mind, which I will come back to in just a second. We have, as we often do at ICANN meetings, many things that are going on. It's a very busy time and a lot of intersections. I want to start by recognizing some guests who are not on stage with me, but who are very critical members of what we call the iStar community, the internet ecosystem. Do we have, I can see Yari, I can see Lynn, and and I can see Paul. Good, okay. Lynn St. Amour, let me ask you just to stand briefly. I know how much you like grabbing the limelight here. She doesn't. President and CEO of the Internet Society. Paul Wilson, who's the CEO of the Asia Pacific Network Information Center. That is the regional Internet Registry for Numbers, and Paul is also chair of the entire Numbers Resource Organization this year. Yari Arko, chair of the Internet Engineering Task Force. We have a singular moment in time. Yari is wearing a newcomer's badge. He's not only first time here, but I believe he's the first time that a sitting IETF chair has visited us. We're going to return the favor shortly with Fadi going to an IETF meeting in a couple of weeks. And so welcome, Yari. We have some very distinguished people on stage here with me. I will give fuller introductions in a moment, but Dr. Hazmek Gajar, am I halfway close? The chairman of ZADNA, who is the CCTLD for South Africa and host of our meeting. Dr. Ilham Ibrahim, commissioner from the African Union. Hamadoun Touré is not here, but we will be seeing a video from him. And last, but definitely not least, what I expect will be the first of many things that we will hear from Lukunga Ludunda. Ludunda, right? That's better. I need to practice. And I will come back and introduce them a little more fully shortly. I'm only going to take a minute or two because there's more important things to be said. But coming to Durban, I'm struck by how pleasant the weather is in what has been reputed winter. I'm familiar with that considerably harsher than this. And one of the things one always thinks about in winter is how soon spring is going to come. And for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we've just left spring, and it's a long way away. But coming here, spring is coming sooner, which is a sort of hokey way of getting to the point I want to make about the vibrancy that I sense throughout our entire community, and particularly in the supporting organizations and the advisory committees. Each one, it seems to be going through a kind of a rebirth, a re-energization, and I can see them not only intensively focused internally, but also looking sideways at each other's organizations, and even a little small sense of competition for attention. There's much to say about each of them, but I'll only take a moment to mention that this time is the 10th anniversary of the country code name supporting organization, the CCNSO, and I think that deserves special attention. As I said, being here in Africa has caused me to put together an idea that's been gelling in my mind for a while. There's been a lot of rhetoric around the requirements for accountability and transparency. And we have formal processes to review, and I'm, in fact, on the current incarnation of the Accountability and Transparency Review Team. All of that is extraordinarily important. But it had caused me to think some time ago that accountability and transparency, although they're absolutely essential, are not sufficient. We could be accountable, we could be transparent, we could be ineffective, we could be getting nothing done. And so for some time, I've been talking about effectiveness and efficiency as essential as well. And we have to get the job done. We have to be effective at what we're doing. We have to do it with a reasonable amount of efficiency. One can always quibble about precisely allocation of resources and so forth, or how long things take. But we have to be professional. We have to be businesslike. But even with all of that, it does not quite get to another quality which I want to introduce and have not talked about formally in the past. One of the opportunities, one of the advantages that we have in the way ICANN is structured as not being a government bureaucracy, even though we sometimes try very hard to look like we are, is the opportunity to do things in a better way. Better can mean smarter, but it can also mean warmer, more engaging, more accessible. And I've been paying attention, excuse me, I've been paying attention to a number of specific interactions that I've had the privilege to watch from the inside, and asking hard questions. Did we do this in a way that leaves all of the people that we're interacting with feeling good about the interaction, even if we have to say something that is a negative message? Are we operating in a fashion that causes people to say, yeah, that's really, I'm glad to have had this interaction, I'm glad to, and the organization works the way I'd like it to work, as I say, even in cases where the outcome might not be objectively as it were. This is the human element here. And I know that sounds odd coming from somebody who is a techie, or maybe, as some of my friends want to say, who used to be a techie until I was moved into this position. So the slogan that I'm going to share with you this morning is what I call the third E for empathy. And so my stump speech now is that we need to be efficient, we need to be effective, and we need to have empathy, and that needs to be marbled and imbued all the way through the organization in every element that we deal with. And so that's, and as I say, it's coming to Africa where feelings are evident everywhere. The warmth and the engagement is just something that you feel even before you get off the plane. In fact, flying South African Airways, you feel it when you get on the plane, which I can tell you is different when you get on an American airline. And so to the extent that I can, and the extent that my colleagues in ICANN can, how that plays, we will be moving as much as possible in that general direction. And one can go overboard on these things, but let me invite people who see ways in which we can be more empathetic to speak up. And speaking again personally, my door is open on that subject.